And give me just one moment to get us set up for our our Facebook share. So 1 second here. Tried to share on YouTube, which is not my goal right now. Right. Beautiful. I think we're here. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for being here with us. It is a pleasure for Kathleen and me to be here with you. I also would like to acknowledge Liz Forrest, who is helping us from a technology perspective. Thank you so much, Liz, and all of Team Tuck, who is helping us to make a difference in the world. I want to tell you a little bit about how this happened, and it happened because of who Kathleen Huda is. So she is working with Steve. She's coming up on a year of working with Steve, and she's one of the most powerful people that I know of, which means in the world, in the realm of helping people discover their unuseful thinking and be at peace with it. In other words, compassionate, radical, miraculous self-forgiveness is really one of her superpowers. I was having some sadness, and I wasn't aware that I had let some non-useful thinking come into my mind and have some lines added to my document in an unconscious manner that were giving me some grief. And I was talking with Kathleen, and she helped me immediately to discover what those were, and to forgive myself for them. So this is a 4-part series, and I want to let you know that this is not going to be the same as if you were to go to work with Steve Hardison or with JP Morgan or with me or Kathleen or with anybody else. That's not the intention here. The intention is to share with you the process through which you can identify your unuseful thinking, your non-useful thinking, forgive yourself, and create a conscious document and lock that document in, so that not only do you have this book and all the wonderful things that it has in it, also you have your own document, your constitution, the words that you have created whereby you are constituted in this world. So I want to share with you now a way that you can listen that will make a difference here. So I invite you to to take these wonderful, magical, amazing devices that we all have, and put it on mute or turn it off if you can. If you cannot, I understand. You may be at a job or something like that where you have to be available for communication. If you are watching the replay, I invite you to do the same thing. I invite you to create a space for yourself that you can focus on you. See, the most powerful listening we can do is creative listening, listening from heart, listening as though God were speaking to our hearts and our minds, regardless of where the words are coming from. So I invite you to listen to Kathleen, and I invite you to listen to me, and I invite you to listen to yourself that way for the time that we have together. So Kathleen, I want to introduce her a little bit. She has been a teacher for over 40 years. She is one who has dedicated her life to helping others. She has managed and run recreational swimming and gymnastics gyms. She's an actual teacher, like in a classroom, has been doing that for a very, very long time and is very good at it. Additionally, Kathleen is one who knows the value of herself and invests in herself. And I am just so grateful to know her, and I'm so excited to do this with her. I want to introduce myself a little bit too. Hi, I'm Dave Orton. I'm a leader in the Being movement, and I worked with Steve back in 2017 to create my document, and I've had the opportunity to be a coach for the last 11 years and the last year full time, and it's just a beautiful and wonderful experience. I live in Idaho with my wife and children. I come from a background of technology. That was my corporate career before I went into full-time coaching, and I'm so grateful to be with you as well. All right, with that, just so you're aware, if you run into any issues with technology, we've turned off chat, we've turned off the tools that make it so that you will get distracted. If you run into technical issues, I invite you to watch this on the Facebook group channel because it's broadcasting there as well. Additionally, if you're here, you will receive a notification of where the replays will be held outside of Facebook. So if you run into an issue where you can't be with us the whole time, or your computer or phone or iPad is not working, don't fret. You will be able to watch that replay and just be with us there. All right. And with that, I would love to turn the time over to you, Kathleen.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. And thank you for that nice introduction. And just thank you for being who you are. I've always seen you as the heart and soul of the Being movement. And you're like the first real person I met that was not on Zoom that was involved with the Ultimate Coach. So thank you so much. And I appreciate your idea of coming up with this and asking me to take part in it. I think for me, when I first read the book, The Ultimate Coach, there was a very big shift in my being to start with. And I pulled together my own document, even though I did not understand what the self-forgiveness process was. I did pull together a document for myself. And after I started coaching with Steve, I got trained in how he teaches the self-forgiveness process. And I redid my document, and I really feel there's so much value to learning the self-forgiveness process. There are many ways that you can do self-forgiveness. So this is not the only way to do it. This is not the right way. This is not the way you have to do it. This is really my opinion. This is how I have been doing it. And I want to share that with you so that if you can practice it, if it resonates with you, or maybe you have another way that you like to do self-forgiveness, you can use that to help you clear away the thoughts and unuseful thinking. So when I first started and I was reading the book, I had two things. I was looking, the second time I read it, I'm like, there's got to be something more about this self-forgiveness process in there. Even though they said it's not in there, I really didn't believe it. I really thought I could find it somewhere. And then the second thing I was going through is I want to find out, where is he from? Like, they talk about Tempe and they talk about Mesa, but they really don't say that he's from there, you know? So finally one day I was reading, I thought, I really could Google him. And so he actually had a website, So I found out he's in Mesa and he's like 20 minutes from my house. And it just was like, I really do want to learn this information. I've done a lot of things, but the shift I felt from this was different. It put me in a different place. And a lot of nervousness that I often feel, although like people always say to me, oh, you don't seem nervous. I have a pretty calm demeanor, but there was always this nervousness behind it that was just uncomfortable. So the value I think of, for me, when I learned the self-forgiveness process, that was really the main thing I wanted to focus on. There's so many golden nuggets in the book, but for me, it was learning the self-forgiveness process, noticing the thoughts that are in my head, allowing to get rid of those thoughts so that then my thoughts are much more loving. So it's kind of love and self-forgiveness. How do you become more loving? You've got to get through the thoughts, the busy thoughts, the negative thoughts, the unuseful thoughts that keep going in your mind. And they're always coming. So it's not like a one and done. It's not like you create your document and then you get this certificate and now you've got it. It's like every day, as we move through the world, we hit this situation and this shows up or this blows up. And how do you move gently, methodically, connectedly through that? As a teacher, I think one of the things that I do well is to create simple ways for children to learn things. When we were teaching in gymnastics, teaching a forward roll, it's hands up, hands down, tuck, roll, and up. Like those words over and over. They get the rhythm and they get it up. And then they stand up. So what I'm looking at here is how can I simplify the process? So there is a process, but then how can we help you become connected? Because if you aren't connected to who you truly are inside of you, it's not going to work. And that's why it's not in the book, because if they give you a step-by-step process, people run through that process, but they haven't connected to their inner source, their inner being, to the universe, to God, whatever you call it, it doesn't matter, but it's that place where you feel at peace. So I think we want to identify like two parts of self for this process. You've got your mind, you've got the busy mind that's always going, and then you've got your connectedness inside, where you sit and you feel peaceful. So your mind is more looking at everything, kind of going through judgment. Your mind is telling you different things that you're seeing. You're seeing this, you're seeing that. This is too big, this is too small. That's everything going on in your mind. Where we want to get, in order to do this process, we want to get inside of your heart. We want to get where you feel connected. So I think it would be good to practice just for a moment right now. If you can get yourself to that place. And there's a few ways that I think are easy. I'm going to let me go over like 3 or 4 things you can do. You may have a place like, whoa, you know how to get there. So you get there. If you think of a child that you really love, like for me, that's a way to get there. If you think of a person you love, or you think of when you first fell in love, that's another way that you can easily, maybe not easily, it may be easy for you to connect to that place inside of you where it feels peaceful. Or maybe there's a holy person, a Mother Teresa, some godly person that you connect to, that you feel you can connect to their energy. Or maybe you just go back to a situation, like something that happened in your life, like, wow, where you really felt connected. Maybe it was something with family. Maybe it was with, just an experience you had, something, an athletic event, something where you feel connected. So that's important through this whole process, is to get back, sit back, and be connected. There's another piece, I think, in the Ultimate Coach. We're always creating, like things move very, very fast. It's kind of mind-boggling. And we're either aware of what we're creating, or we're just creating whatever is going on in our mind kind of crazily. I think for this process, when you're creating your document, you want to sit back, take the time, and not be in a rush. And that's why we're doing this over 4 weeks. We're going to start today with the idea of unuseful thoughts. And unuseful thoughts, I'm going to use the definition from Dr. Ron and Mary Holnick, is just whenever you feel that you're not at peace. So whenever you just are not feeling connected, you're feeling a little off, you've got angst, you're worried. And Dave, do you want to go into some of the things we talked about
Yeah, I do.
unuseful?
So the anything that disturbs your peace, anything that gives you an experience of a loss of power, a loss of freedom, a loss of the ability to express who you are really in the world. Any of those can be traced back to non-useful thinking. How this relates to the document is that non-useful thinking, how to say this, if you have not consciously created a document, you still have a document. You have your default or legacy document. And that document is given you by your non-useful thinking. And it's these things, these thoughts or these judgments or these creations that have unconsciously crept into your identity, into your being, that have, from a hidden perspective, given you this lack of peace, this disturbance of peace. And so the identifying the non-useful thinking is the place to start. And it's the place to look is, where am I not in peace? Where am I not in alignment with my higher self, my God with a small G self? And these things can come from just about anywhere. One of my most unuseful thoughts came from when I was in a store with my brothers and my mom at age 4. I wanted her to buy me a little box of raisins, and she was dealing with a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old, and she just said, "We can't afford that right now." She said that. She said whatever she said. What I made that mean, what I created that to mean was, we're gonna starve. We have to worry about money all the time for the rest of life, and there's never enough. And at age 4, that's a lot to take on. And I didn't have quite that language, but I had this experience. So and that became one of the very first things that I had of non-useful thinking. And it can come from our parents. It can come from our friends. It can just come from our own minds, seeing something happen. And it's not necessarily somebody did not inculcate this into us. Like, we did not choose to create this. It simply happened. Like, it was below the level of our consciousness. At age 4, there was nothing available for me to do with that. It can come from our past experiences, traumas. If you had something happen to you when you were young, or even when you're older, it can really shift how you see the world. But the difference here is that you have the power because it is your non-useful thinking. It's not somebody did this to me. As we identify non-useful thinking, we move from this space of victimhood, my mom made me believe that money's not enough, over into, I recognize that I made a judgment based on what my mom said. And so that's really where I see this coming. What would you like to talk about now, Kathleen? Where would you like to take this, or what did I miss?
Well, I think what Dave said is it's so true. It can kind of come from anywhere. It can come from as you're growing up, your parents, things they say, or things your teachers tell you, things your peer group and that. And you take these thoughts on and you think them enough and enough and enough. The more you think them, they become your beliefs. And then those beliefs are in your brain, and everything you say, all the good you're trying to do, has to work their way through those beliefs. Or as you listen to people, you're listening from that filter of, like, I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough. So no matter what anyone says, it kind of triggers something that they may not even be meaning at all, but it's how you listen to the world from what is inside of your brain. So the number one thing, like, is to start looking at what are those thoughts in your brain. And when, like, I say for me, and Dave, you can kind of share how you feel it. Like I just know I'm going along, everything seems good, and then all of a sudden there's just this angst, or I'm like I go from good to like, mad or angry, and it's for me it's like usually kind of a quick shift. All of a sudden it's there. Those are the thoughts that you want to take note of. And I've worked with a lot of people creating their documents and doing non-useful thoughts. Like everybody has these. Like I don't even feel bad about it anymore. I think at first I was like, oh my gosh, there's so many of them. But it's like now I feel I'm so happy that I noticed it, because now I can use the self-forgiveness process and help myself get cleared away and get back to that peaceful state again.
Beautiful. I love that. One of the things that oh, I would like to, I forgot to tell you something, everyone, at the beginning. If you have questions, the invitation is to actually ask them as a comment in the Facebook group under this video that's being broadcast there. That way we can answer those questions one time and everybody will be able to see the answers there, as opposed to if we did it in here, the chat is not shared. So we've turned off chat for that purpose. So thank you, Kathleen. I absolutely agree with that. So I'm on iteration number 9 of my document now. I've gone through it 9 times. And well, I'm in the midst of the 9th time right now with you, Kathleen. And just because a person has done a lot of work on themselves, and I have, and I know all of you have, does not mean that non-useful thinking will not emerge. And it's not like all the things happened 30 years ago. That's where all my non-useful thinking comes from. No, I'm talking about today, when your child threw a fit at you, or somebody, cut you off in traffic. If you're not aware, you can have new non-useful thoughts come up and non-useful judgments come up. So as Kathleen said, this is not a once and done thing. It's not like you go to the gym one time. This is a process where you keep going. We've got Lane Knighting here with us, and he is one of the fittest people I know. That man can bike the world without breaking a sweat, so it seems to me. And he did not develop those muscles just by going out and doing one bike ride. He developed them over years of investing in physical activity in a consistent manner. And this training ourselves to forgive ourselves, training ourselves to identify our non-useful thinking is a lifelong thing. So yeah, Kathleen, do we want to start going into how to notice the non-useful thoughts? What are your thoughts on it?
Yeah, let's do that. I know for me, it's just like my body really feels the angst. And when I notice a thought, like if I have the time, I will put it like right through the self-forgiveness process, which we're going to teach you next week. But as I'm noticing it, I'll just try to jot it down, or I might text it to myself, or just like if I'm in the car, just like put something like, driver cut me off, and just write that somewhere so that I can go back and deal with it later on in the day. How about you, Dave?
Well, I think that's really great. One of the things that Louise Hay is famous for saying is that feelings buried alive never die. I'm not sure if she's the only one that said that, but that's where I heard it. So this being able to feel things all the way through, being able to recognize that we had this experience, and it made us feel however we felt. Like our feelings it is true that we have feelings. And it is true that our feelings are not necessarily an accurate representation of the intentions of others or of reality, right? But for us, they're real, because that's the perceived experience of our life. And if we deny that or try to spiritually bypass that or try to think our way around that or think our way such that we don't have to feel it, or that we don't take time to forgive ourselves for this thing and free ourselves from this, it can become an ingrained non-conscious line in our default document. So that's the distinction of non-useful thoughts: anything that disturbs your peace, beliefs, judgments, or perceptions that disturb your peace. So do we want to move into identifying those at this point, or how do we want to? I love what we said about the filter, right?
Yeah, we could talk a little more about that. Just maybe to make a distinction, though, there are useful thoughts, like thoughts that go through your body, your
Right.
mind, but they don't really have a trigger. Like you're not angry about them, you're not mad about them. They just go through, and those thoughts are the ones we're not really looking at those this week. We're looking at the ones that give you some kind of emotional trigger to where you go from, feeling good, or you're just not feeling connected or feeling at peace.
It's a beautiful distinction. And useful thoughts is where that's the place we're going to take us. That's where we're going in the next couple of weeks, right?
Right, right.
I love it. So this, I want to talk a little bit more about the filter, right? Or the sunglasses. Basically, the thoughts become the way our view mask. We think of our eyes as sensors, and for a certain value, that's correct. Like we sense light, we sense color, we sense movement with our eye organs. But it is not how we see. We see with our mind, right? The picture that I'm seeing right now is projected upside down in my brain. And my mind knows to take it and arrange it upright. And that's as far as vision goes. The actual seeing is a mind activity. And I see through all these thoughts. It actually becomes a projection. So there's perception and projection, right? I project my reality through these filters. I project a reality that is possible based on the experiences and the judgments that I have created, consciously or unconsciously, in my mind. So you may have met someone who, it doesn't matter how great things are, they are never satisfied and they are always complaining. And I assert that the reason that they're doing that is because somewhere they have made a judgment that no matter where they're at, no matter how good it is, there's always something wrong. And so they're projecting out into this world and seeing and noticing everything that's wrong. It doesn't matter whether they're in a junk pile or in a 5-star resort. It can be fantastic, and it's still like they are in that junk pile, because that junk pile doesn't exist out here. It exists in their mind. And the junk pile is comprised of their non-useful thoughts.
And so we had talked about 3 different types of filters. There's probably hundreds of filters, but we were just going to kind of mention ones that were specific with us. And like I have what I would call the considerate filter. Like I like to be considerate of people. Like that's a good thing, but in some cases it can kind of backfire. So one of the things that happened to me is when I went in to coach one day, Steve had not put up my flag. He had a different flag up. And it was the Friday after the TUE event, the Friday after he'd gone 16 hours to the Grand Canyon. And I was like, well, it's not that important. He's, probably exhausted. I get there a half hour early. I could have texted him and said something, but I thought, nah, I'm not going to bother him. I'll wait. And then we went through our session. It popped in my mind a few times that we were talking about something else. So I thought, no, I'm just not going to let it go. I was getting in my car to leave, and he was leaving. He was going into his garage. I could have said, oh, by the way, but I didn't. I finally got home and I texted him, and that night I was taking a friend over to meet him, and I was standing in his kitchen and I could see, I go, oh, my flag's up out there, and he goes, yes, your flag's up. And he goes, why didn't you tell me? And, it was like I just didn't want to bother him. But I also wasn't giving him the opportunity to do what he said he would always do, you know? So I think I see that a lot in myself, not wanting to ask for help, trying to do it all by myself instead of, you know, allowing other people to help or at least putting out there what would be helpful to me. Or if I notice somebody's made a mistake, you know, at least bringing it up. So that we kind of termed the considerate filter.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, for me, I've noticed a filter through myself where if somebody intimidates me or scares me, I go and become their friend, and therefore neutralize the threat. Which is funny because I mean I am tall. Like I am, how to say this? I'm a big guy. Yeah, not as in heavy, although I weigh 200. Yeah, I weigh 250 pounds right now. It would, I'm generally the one that people are afraid of. And yet I see other people and I'm like, I'm scared of that person. I should go be their friend so I'm not scared of them anymore. And again, it's a filter that came about because this worked in eighth grade, you know, and it serves me well. I get to be friends with all sorts of people that I would never have been friends with. But if that's what's driving me, if I don't have a choice about that, you know, then that may fall, even though it has some pleasant outcomes, some pleasant results, it may fall into this thing that's not truly free. It may fall into this non-useful thoughts. So there's no judgment over here. Like we're not the ones judging your thoughts. This experience is going is or this exercise that we're going to go through is to help you look at and discover your non-useful thoughts. And your non-useful thoughts, it, please do come to them with innocence. You know, come to them as with compassion for yourself. Come to them with knowing that your experience is yours alone. No one else on this planet has had the experiences and the perceptions and projections and filters that you have. That it is yours and yours alone. You know, so this this is very much catered to you, and you have to do that catering, you know, because there's a bunch of you and only two of us. Kathleen, over to you.
Just and another filter that's very common would be like one of judgment, and not to be confused. Judgment can be termed as like evaluation. Like if I was a judge at a gymnastics meet, I used to do that, and I would evaluate by a certain criteria. You know, are their toes pointed, and they get so many points for this and so many points for this in the routine. Like that's an evaluating type of judgment. We're talking about when you look at someone and you're judging them. They're too tall, or you don't like this about them. They're too loud. They speak too much. They're always cutting in. I don't like them because of this. The way that you judge people or events or things, the criticalness is also a filter that is very common. That, you know, I know that's a filter for me. So, but as you go through, you'll kind of see, you can just be aware of what your filters are. Okay. And so I think what might be useful right now, Dave, is if we just took like 4 or 5 minutes and everyone just went back throughout this week, like take a week ago Monday and Tuesday, or just think when you went to work or when you were out at an event or wherever you had to go in this past week, and see if you can pull up some of your unuseful thoughts and just write them down on a piece of paper. And then we're going to look at those. So could we maybe set a clock here? And
I don't know if we can display one, but I'll set a clock. How many
okay,
minutes did you want? 5 minutes?
let's go 4 minutes. I think that'll be plenty. It doesn't have to be just like 3 to 5 thoughts. If you get more, that's great. That are non-useful thoughts that took you out of that your peaceful presence.
Excellent. these thoughts can be whatever it is. Just look for areas where you were upset. Just look for, if you're having trouble, just let your mind think about any time where you felt small, any time where you felt really, really bad, or even moderately bad. Anytime you had a thought that I should do something, there was a moment of inspiration, and instead you judged yourself as not worthy of that. I can't do that. And it stopped you from your progress, stopped you from making a difference with someone. Kathleen, could you mute yourself for while we're waiting here?
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll do that too. We have 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Okay, we're down to 25 seconds left, everyone. Perfect. And we're complete there. I wanted to share with you, and I haven't asked permission, so I'm going to keep it brief here, but Georgia Bazine is on the call with us here. And Georgia is an audacious person. And she has intentionally cultivated in her life the habit of being okay with being seen. And not just with being seen, but with being seen in her vulnerability. She and Kathleen and I are all cold plunging people, and it's a beautiful connection to have. And Georgia inspires me by her willingness to go through and to examine those things that are that would seem to be not okay to share or not okay to look at, even in her or our culture. So I just want to say thank you, Georgia, for who you are. All right, so guys, I'd like you to take a look at your list. I'd like to share some of the ones that I came across, and just look at your list. And then Kathleen, I'm going to ask you in just one moment to describe how to write these in such a way that we can actually use them for the process going forward. So here were some that I came up with. No matter how hard I try, it will never work out. God has my back until he doesn't. I love people and they won't get along and I can't fix it. I don't have the discipline to create what I want. I don't do what is needed to create the way that I want to create. I know we'll survive, but it doesn't feel like we'll have the abundance that it seems to be that was promised. And you may hear me editing because some of these are a little personal. The point is that they are personal, and allow yourself to be completely real with yourself. All right, George, excuse me, Kathleen, how about we talk through the way to look at these? And yeah.
Yeah, so Dave, why don't you pick one of those
Okay.
and we'll just work it.
Yeah. No matter how hard I try, I can't make myself do what I need to do. Let's work with that one.
Okay. So no matter how hard I try, I can't make myself do what I need to do. That's kind of two thoughts.
Okay.
can we take the second half of it? I can't make myself do what I need to do.
Yeah, let's do that.
And we're going to put it into an I am statement. So I am one who can't make myself do what I need to do. So can you write that down?
Yeah.
I am one who can't make myself do what I want to do. Okay. So you take the situation, whatever it is that brought you angst,
Mhm.
maybe it's like my grandkids won't buckle their seatbelts, and that brought up that, I don't know why, but that seatbelt thing's always bringing angst up with me, so, and you turn that into an I am statement. I'm angry when the kids don't buckle their seatbelts. And we're going to have you turn all these into an I am statement for right now as you are, looking at these unuseful thoughts. Dave, do you want to give us another one?
Sure. Well, let's take one that's very, very new, and I've mentioned this to you, but like I had set aside time on Saturday to do my taxes and I just didn't do it. Right.
Mhm.
So I'm one who couldn't make myself do my taxes on Saturday. I'm one who I didn't accomplish what I said I would do. I had time set aside and everything. Penny was there saying, "Hey, would you please make sure you do this? My daughter's going to college next year and she needs me to complete it so we can do the financial aid thing for her university that she's going to." So how would I state that? I am
Yeah.
one.
I am one who didn't do my taxes. I am one who, like, that might turn, like, what is the feeling when you didn't do your taxes? I am one who avoided my taxes. I am one who,
Yeah, there's avoidance, who avoided doing my taxes. There is also some shame, because I know that my daughter is stuck until I do that. Like she can't move forward on some of her applications for school that she needs to accomplish by a certain date.
yeah,
Uh,
so that could come into I am one who feels shameful, or I am one who feels guilty that I didn't do my taxes. So
there you
kind
go.
of from that, you can see other feelings that are a piece of it.
Yeah, so guilt, shame, that's, yeah. Okay, I've got that written down.
Um, I was gonna show kind of my original statements from what I came up with in Steve's office, like when we were coaching that first day.
Mhm.
Um, Let me get this on my screen here. And I kind of what I found happened to me during the week, because we're going to ask you to write down your non-useful thoughts all during the week. They ended up being in a lot of different places. During the week, because we're going to ask you to write down, let's see
Sorry about
here,
that echo.
there. So you can see up here, like one of them that came up is that I'm afraid to be me. Um, Here's my actual homework. Look for non-useful listings. Add 1 to 2 thoughts each day. Bring 2 lists, one for me, one for Steve. Okay. I am that there is a lot of work to do. I am that I have to do everything by myself. I am that I am worthy. I think that was supposed to be unworthy when I asked for help. I am one who's embarrassed when I spend a lot of money on something I really want. I am one who rushes to get things done. I am one who wants to be noticed and then hides when she is noticed. I am one who creates and then feels she is boasting by creating. So, you know, just those are just some of them that I came up with that from the very beginning. And then I went home and then all during the week added thoughts over and over again. And what you want to come up with for next week is you want to have like all these unuseful thoughts in this type of an I am statement so that they're all like easily able to be looked at and seen what you've got. I ended up typing mine. So this is after, I was at like after the whole week, the day before I went to Steve, I just decided I'm just going to put them all. This is on an Excel spreadsheet, but just, they don't have to be typed, but that they're just all written in one place and it's clear. You're not piecing together, oh, this one's over here and this one's over there. I had ended up with a lot of thoughts. We're asking you to like come up with maybe 20 to 40 thoughts. If you do more, that's great, but that you get them from different places. Like you might get them if you go to the grocery store. That's a great place to, as you're looking at the price of food and things, or when you go to work or around your children or working out, when you're getting ready to work out, like what are the thoughts that are going through your mind that are unuseful? And I had so many, it just seemed like it was hard for me to get a grasp on. I ended up sorting them. Like this isn't anything you have to do, but my main issues I was looking were worthiness. I had a lot on control. I just didn't pull those. Embarrassed, critical, I'm angry, irritated, needs permission. I am one who needs permission before doing anything. I am that I can't do what I want to do. I'm afraid. Life is hard. I am that life is hard. I am that I have to work harder than anyone else. So you want to come up with your thoughts and then just get them in a clear list before next week. Oh, Dave, you're muted.
Kathleen, sorry about that. Yeah, I noticed that. Could you talk about, there's two things I wanted to have you clarify. First, why do we say I am one who, or I am that I, instead of just I am not listened to, I am not good enough, or instead of I am one who feels I'm not good enough? Can you talk about the purpose of having the particular structure there?
The I am is like a very powerful way to say anything. So if I am afraid, it really compounds that. If I say I am one who is afraid, it doesn't put the emphasis on afraid. It puts the emphasis of I am one who is afraid. So I think when we're talking about unuseful thoughts, as opposed to being I am afraid, I feel like it's a wow. It's a better way to state it, that I am one who is not listened to.
Got it. So
And when we go to put it into the self-forgiveness process, into that format, it'll slide in. We will leave out the I am and we'll be able to just go into one who is.
Beautiful. I hear that as that we're not creating it again and feeling all the feelings. We're able to observe them in this structure as opposed to creating them again. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yes, yeah.
Okay, beautiful. Thank you. And thank you, Wilfrey, for that question in the meeting, excuse me, in the broadcast chat. Okay. How do people identify if they have more than one thought in the judgment? So for example, the one I shared, you said that's really two thoughts. How would I separate those out so I can deal with them one at a time instead of trying to lump multiple judgments or multiple non-useful thoughts into one statement?
Yeah, I think like whenever you're saying whenever you've got like this and this and this, or because he, we're really looking like, let's say it's like, I am one who is angry at my husband because he didn't take out the trash. Like the story isn't that important. because he didn't take out the trash. Just if you can just, I am one who's angry at my husband. I am one who is angry. It could even be that. Um, so some of like the story piece can be eliminated.
Mhm.
But if it's like, I am feeling sad and upset that, like you might really connect, am I feeling sad or is this more upset? Um, like I wouldn't get tied up in it. It's really just, if it's a thought, get it down, write it. Yeah, it's because the technical piece of it is not important. It's a thought. Put it down. If you're not sure how to write it, don't get hung up on that. Just get the thought down on paper. And then, when we'll next week, we'll get through the process. And if it's one thought, one idea, it's going to be a little easier, a little cleaner to learn the process.
Mhm.
Then as you know, become better and better at it, you may just take two or three things together and work it through. I just don't want I don't want people to get worried about how they've written things out. Just get it down there.
Got it.
Put it into
Okay.
an IM and then we'll work through it.
Yeah. Beautiful. So it doesn't matter how you get it down, so long as you get it down. Yeah.
Yeah,
Beautiful.
get
Yeah.
down. And I think the other thing is, like sometimes it's overwhelming. Like, man, I'm thinking all these things, but, or like then you have another thought that my thoughts are so bad. I'm thinking that my thoughts are so bad, or I've got so many of them. But it just is, it's what we're all going through. So it eventually you will become to where you really appreciate all these thoughts because you know how to work them through and you know how to get your mind clear.
Mhm. Beautiful. Okay. So we have about 5 minutes left. Kathleen, do we want to jump into the homework section now, or what would you like to do?
Yeah, let's just clarify that. I know I've kind of mentioned, I'm going to unshare my screen there. Yeah, so homework, we're just looking at encouraging you just to start noticing your thoughts and write them down. We want you to come with 20 to 40 thoughts of, I'm sorry, 20 to 40 non-useful thoughts. And if you can put them in an I am statement, that will be helpful. If it's mind-boggling, just come with the thought. Um, do you want to go over like different things of noticing unuseful thoughts, Dave?
Yeah.
Just kind of a
Yeah.
review of that.
Yeah. So notice when someone makes you angry. Notice when you feel victimized, write it down. Notice when your feelings are hurt, write that down. Notice when someone's critical of you or when you're critical of someone harshly, write that down. Notice when you're gossiping. Notice when you're creating others in a disempowering way, write it down. Notice any other thoughts that you notice are not useful. Notice when you're grumpy about having to do the dishes or take out the trash or go into a job that you don't love or whatever it is that is your story. Just make sure that you're capturing it. Write those down. And the value of this is going to be in that you can actually deal with what you notice, right? You're bringing these non-useful thoughts into a space where you can actually notice them. All right, Kathleen, over to you for just 1 second.
Yeah, no, I think that sounds great. And, I just want to say thank you for everyone for coming and for, wanting to look at this because it just takes, sitting back, practicing how to notice your thoughts and then writing them down. That's the first thing. So I appreciate everyone being here and listening and joining us for this. And a thank you to you, Dave. Thank you so much for
Oh, my pleasure.
you do.
My pleasure. All right, let's see. Liz, could we take everyone off of mute and let them come in and just say, yeah, just say whatever they like to say as a farewell. And again, guys, if you have questions, I will be looking, Kathleen and I will be looking.
And again, guys, if you have questions,
I would say well, and again, guys, if you have questions, looks like somebody's listening to the replay at the same time. We're hearing some feedback. It's all good. Guys,
Thank you, Dave and Kathleen.
thank you
Fantastic
so much.
session.
Sorry,
Thank you
it's
very
Georgia.
much.
I can't come on
This
camera.
is so
Thank you.
helpful.
Thank you.
Thank
you.
you.
It was
Dave.
great.
Thank
Thank
So
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Dave.
Beautiful.
Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Appreciate it.
Kathleen.
See you next week.
Thank you. Thank
Thank
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. And with that, guys, we're going to call it time. Kathleen, thank you so much for your willingness to do this with me and your greatness of who you are. It is my pleasure to know and appreciate you, and to cold plunge with you too. But that's
Thank you
that's a
so
different
much,
level
Dave.
of connection, right? All right. Thanks.
Have a beautiful day.
Thanks, everyone. Bye bye. Talk to you next week.